1% of dudes rapping, they ain't nice as me. 98% ain't live the same type of life as me. The judge gave me life and then they sent me where the life is be. That level 4 with depth and vice, the type of stuff they like to see. Two choices, fight or flee. I refuse to die a chump. I never been a mark, but damn, it's scary when that riot jump. I seen dudes cry, get pumped, and some sexually brutalized. Knew a dude who lost his life and he was only doing 5 year-long racial fights when homie all you do is ride. Lonely days and nights up in a hole causing suicide. From the moment you arrive, you see the Mexican mafia, AB skinheads with big giant swastikas, pro-black philosophers, the BGF, the Kumi, and Muslims who will murk you from the nation to the Sunni. That MS was loony, quick to ride up on they rival. Even Christians went to church, hide knives up in a Bible. Political and tribal, the Crips and Damus, the Long Beach, the Hubs and the Dubs and the Grooves, the IE, the Bakersfield, the Dago Pyrus, the Hustlers quick to roll, the gangsters gon' move, whatever click you choose.
Cracking YouTube, it's your boy 16 to life, and I'm back like I'm on a parole violation. You're down! Now, for those of y'all that's new to my page, in 1994, I got arrested. I was eventually sentenced to 16 years plus life, and I served 24 years straight in the California prison system. Yeah, that's me gassing right there on that intro. And if you want to purchase that song, it's available only on a 10-song EP. Cashapp, PayPal, or Zelle me $20, and I'll get it to you ASAP. Hit me up on my email. That's 16tolifemusic@gmail.com. Now, let's hop right up into this story. Now, this story takes place around 2004. I'm in Ironwood, in a place called Blythe, California. You already know what it is, man. They get extremely hot down there, and Ironwood was a level 3. Now, I'm going to do something I don't do often in my stories. I'm going to hit y'all with some real names, man. So I got down to Ironwood, I want to say in 1998. I believe I ended up meeting the dude who I'm talking about in this story, who is Pep from Insane. I believe maybe around 2001 on A-Yard. So initially when I got to Ironwood on the A-Yard around 98, the Long Beach car, I say the Long Beach car because on that particular yard, they function as one unit. I've been at different institutions or on different yards where sometimes you have the Insanes separate from the 20s. But on that particular yard, it was a lot of unity the whole entire time that I was there, as far as the Long Beach car is concerned, right? So some of the individuals that was down there, you had a brother by the name of Pep, who was from Rolling 20s. He was dark-skinned, big buff dude. You had J-Dog, I believe he was from Insane. You had Dirty Red from 20s. You had Biggs from 20s. You had Too Cool from 20s. You also had a Pep from Long Beach Insane. You had Little Half Head, Raybone, Dur, Sag. I think this is Tiny Sag, the one that be rapping, just to name a few of the individuals who was there. Throughout my time on that particular yard, the Long Beach car, they pretty much function as one car. You know, the 20s and the Insanes, they kicked it, hung out, you know, everybody kicked it and hung out on a regular basis, you know, and there was really no problems internally as far as that car went. Only time I seen they had an internal problem, I want to say this is probably somewhere around 2001, 2002. Individual, another Crip from Long Beach happened to hit the yard, and he was from a hood known as Mac Mafia. If I'm not mistaken, Mac Mafia is on the north side of Long Beach. So he got on the yard maybe about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Maybe about 3:30, 3:45. We do a yard recall. We go in, we get locked up for count. We come out maybe around 5 o'clock, you know, go to child and come back out to yard maybe around 6:15, 6:45, somewhere up in there. So when he hit the yard, I guess there was a little discussion about him being on the yard or whatever. That night when yard opened, they went out there to the yard and immediately boop, bop, boop, beep, bop, boop, boop, bop, lefts and rights with all they might. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to necessarily say who hopped on his helmet since they all reside in Long Beach, and I don't want to cause no problems. I'll just say that, you know, he was told that, you know, you got to get on, man. And so, like I say, they lumped him up and sent him on his way. Now, to my understanding, he went to D-Yard. I don't know if I mentioned when I was naming some of the individuals who came through a yard at one time or another, but there was an individual by the name of Dirty Red. Dirty Red was from Long Beach 20s as well, maybe about 5'9", dark skinned, fat. He be clowning all the time. He rap and sing real good. He was on that yard as well. At some point in time, you know, Dirty Red did something. I don't know whatever he did or whatever, but it caused him to get moved, and he went to D yard. So he went to D yard. He stayed on D yard for a while. Then he ended up getting into a fight with a dude, I believe, from A Trey in the laundry. You know, me and Dirty Red was real cool. Dirty Red used to rap. I used to rap, so we used to kick it back and forth, you know, rap and stuff like that. Matter of fact, and I also knew Dirty Red from B Yard as well. So me and Dirty Red had a pretty good history down there in Ironwood. So anyway, at some point in time, he was telling me once he came back, he had a couple of different fights with the dude from A-Tray. I don't know if they rushed him or he rushed them, but the dude from Mac Mafia aided Dirty Red. So when Dirty Red came back from D Yard after getting into the fight over there, the dude from Mac Mafia had got caught up in whatever was going on, and he came back as well. So now when he comes back the second time, due to the fact that I guess he had aided Dirty Red, and Dirty Red, you know, Dirty Red had a rapport with some of the guys who was on that yard as well, you know, and Dirty Red said, hey man, you know, pretty much this dude is cool. He the homie, don't trip on him. So they didn't hop on his head, boo bop him. Now he didn't necessarily kick it real tough with, you know, with the Long Beach car or whatever, but they didn't trip on him the next time he came back over. So there's another individual in this story that I'm talking about, and his name is Spook. Now, Spook was from East Coast. I don't remember which one. I want to say 6 Deuce, but I'm not 100%. I'm not even probably 75%, you know. So I also had some interactions with Spook as well. I had originally met Spook on the C Yard when I went to the C Yard around 2003 in Ironwood. Spook was probably about, I want to say Spook was maybe about 6 feet, maybe 6'1", kind of brown skinned, kind of thin. I probably want to say maybe 160, 165, 170, somewhere up in there, played basketball. Spook was with the business. Now, when I got to C Yard, the homies over there on C Yard, Chances, Lil Swift, all them and stuff, they was doing the Bakersfield IE thing. You know, they call it the I-5. You know, the I being for the Inland Empire and the 5 being for the 805, you know. So we was interacting with dudes from Bakersfield over there. We had dudes from Bakersfield over there who we all rode in the same car. You had Bus, you had Half Breed, you had I forget his name, P Crazy or something like that. But anyway, at some point in time before I got to the yard, or maybe I was on the yard, I can't quite remember, Bus and Spook had got into it, and Spook had boop, bop, boop, bop, boop, put hands all on Bus. So Spook was definitely with the business. And then so we ended up getting into a ride and going to the hole. Eventually I got sent back to A Yard. I heard some things that transpired or whatever, some type of way. Spook ended up being sent to B Yard. Then I heard while Spook was on the basketball court at some point in time, he ended up getting into a fight on the basketball court, and then Spook made his way to A Yard. I believe Halfhead and Pep from Insane, they had been on the yard quite a while. Now, all the dudes on this yard, you know, we had a good rapport over there with each other. When I say all the dudes, I'm talking about within the black population, you know, especially the individuals who used to go out there and play basketball. Little Halfhead used to play basketball on a regular, if not a daily basis. Pep used to be out there on a if not a daily basis, on a regular basis, 3-4 times a week. Now, Pep, I want to say, was 5'10", maybe 215, 220, probably in his mid 30s at that time. Spook was probably in his early 20s. And so we out there on the basketball court on a daily basis or whatever, you know, always playing basketball. And a lot of the individuals who would play basketball on a daily basis, as I mentioned earlier, we had a good rapport. You know, we had been on the yard a long time. And so when you're doing time among the same individuals, you know, a lot of times, as much as possible, that gang affiliation stuff goes out the window. Because like I said, we out there, we playing basketball, football, softball, and then some other dudes, you know, you may be gambling with or whatever. So Also, me and Pep was in the same building. So me and Pep had probably been in the same building probably about maybe 2 or 3 years. So Pep was real cool. We used to laugh and joke. I had another homie by the name of Head from Delman Heights. Me and Head used to be cracking jokes on each other all the time. And Pep would love to walk to chow with us just to hear us bag and tell jokes about each other and stuff like that. So Pep was real cool, right? So now, on this day in particular, we out there on the yard and it's a full court basketball league going on between, the blacks. Now, normally on the regular days, because the basketball court is full court, one side, the blacks and the Asians play basketball on, and the other side, you'll have the Mexicans and the whites play basketball. But now when we're having a tournament, the Mexicans will allow us to use their side to play full court. And when they have a tournament, we give them the same courtesy. Now, on this particular day, the blacks was having a full court basketball game. Now, just so happened on opposing teams, you had Spook from East Coast and you had Pep from Insane. Now, unfortunately for Pep had came out there in the morning time and Pep had been drinking and was sauced up on some of that Pruno. So Pep come out there, he active, he ready to get on the basketball court, but like I said, he been drinking and that, that drink got him going or whatever. So I'm on the sideline watching the basketball game, right? So now I don't necessarily quite remember the exact confrontation that occurred to get things going between Spook, who was from East Coast, and Pep, who was from Long Beach Insane. But at some point in time, I kind of noticed that, they kind of getting into it or whatever. And to keep it 100, Pep is doing a lot of woofing. Like, you don't want to see me. And like I said, you can tell Pep is a little sauced up. Yeah, you don't want to see me. And woo, woo, woo. He talking, he not necessarily talking basketball trash. He talking about, let's get it physical. Like Olivia Newton-John. And he ready to get cracking out there or whatever. So initially, Spook is kind of lightweight ignoring him. Pep is talking, he doing his thing, woofing. Spook like, yeah, whatever. He going back up the court doing what they doing. But at some point in time, Pep got to talking and, like, yeah, you don't want to, and I don't know if due to the fact that initially Spook was ignoring him, Pep thought that, he was scared of him because like I said too, Pep was older. Spook was probably about, I want to say maybe 6 feet, 6'1", 170. I don't know if Pep assumed because he was younger and smaller, he was scared of him or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So, they going back and forth or whatever, or not necessarily Pep was kind of, just woofing. Not real big woofing on him, but just saying like, yeah, you don't want to see me or whatever. So at some point in time, you could see it in Spook's face. He just got fed up with it all. Pep said something along those lines or whatever, and all Spook just looked like, man, I'm tired of it. Boop, bop! Gave him a hard left and a right. Now, I swear for God, when he hit Pep with that two-piece, Pep said, now I gotta bust you up. So when initially when Spook hit him with the two-piece, everybody saw what was going on, and they just kind of stopped and gave him dude some space. Now, keep in mind, while this game is going on, it's like the first unlock, I believe, or maybe the second unlock. So you got a lot of people out there on the yard, especially, a lot of Crips, a lot of Bloods, whatever. People just coming out there to watch the basketball game. So keep in mind now, you got a lot of dudes from Long Beach. You got a lot of dudes out there from Insane and 20s. And you got a lot of dudes out there from East Coast as well. You know what I'm saying? And so when they square off, automatically Spook get on his toes. He bouncing around. He on his bicycle. You can tell he got a little squabbles about himself. Like I said, Pep being the older and the heavier of the two. Pep used to work out all the time. Pep had some nice size on him. Pep looked like old chiseled up linebacker. So it appeared to me part of Spook's fight plan was to move and definitely not let the bigger dude Pep grab him. So like I said, man, you could tell, Spook got a little chunk about himself. He on his bicycle, but Spook is sticking and moving. Pop, boop, pop, boop. He's sticking and moving. He on his bicycle. He on his toes. And like I mentioned earlier, Pep was sauced up. Pep was on that Pruno, and you can definitely tell that he had been drinking. And so like I said, Spook is on his bicycle. Spook is on his bicycle. And every time Pep come up, he hit him with a 2 or 3 piece combination. Boop, bop, boop, bop, boop, bop. And Spook is steady on his bicycle. Now keep in mind, they squabbing pretty much right out in the open on the basketball court. Now, this yard at Ironwood is a pretty good sized yard, and you got 5 buildings on the yard. And so, of course, in any one of these 5 buildings at any given time, the officer that's working in the tower that looks over the floor also can come to his back window and post up and glance around the yard and see what's going on. And also, you have an officer in the tower overlooking the yard, and that's his job, just to watch the yard and make sure, you know, everything is peaceful. There's not no fighting or commotion going on whatsoever. So I'm saying all that to say that this fight is definitely not gonna last super long before one of these guards happen to spot it, because you also have, you know, at least maybe 8 to 12 guards out there walking in pairs of 2. So you might want to act like Jamie Foxx and T-Pain and blame it on the alcohol. But for whatever reason, man, Pep could just not get a punch in, man. Pep is out there and he's throwing these super slow looping lefts and roundhouse rights, and they just not connected. Whole time, right on the outside of the basketball court, you got a lot of Long Beach Crips, Insane and 20s, as well as a lot of East Coast Crips, you know, just sitting back watching what's going on. Now, honestly, one of the main reasons I believe that nobody from either side jumped in is 2 reasons. Because Pep was pretty cool with everybody. You had a lot of people on the yard who had a lot of love for Pep. And then also standing right there on the side of the basketball court, you had Stutterbox, who, you know, had a lot of influence with the East Coasters, as well as Little Halfhead, who was standing right there, who had a lot of influence for the Long Beach card. And they was basically saying, hey, man, you know, let them go one-on-one. Don't nobody get in it. Because you definitely seen a bunch of dudes on each side chomping at the bit, ready to get up in there. I can specifically remember Squirt from 1200 block Riverside East Coast. He was right there. He was like, he was ready to hop in it. And also, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Raybone from Long Beach Insane. He's sitting right there. He ready to get in it, as well as a whole bunch of other dudes, right? So finally, some guard somewhere, either in the tower in one of those buildings, or maybe a guard out there that was working the yard, happened to see it, and they happened to hit the alarm, and they ran over there. The whole time, like I say though, Spook is still on his toes. Boop bop, boop bop, boop bop, boop bop. He busting Pep up. You know, Pep steady throwing these slow rights, and I don't honestly think Pep got a punch in. When the guards finally got over there and told him to get down, I do specifically remember them having to mace Pep, and I think they even hit him with the baton a time or 2 because he wouldn't stop, he wouldn't comply, or whatever the situation was, man. Now, if I could remember right, after they handcuffed Pep and they handcuffed Spook, they walked them on off to the program office, and they resumed normal program, and everything was everything, you know. And I'm not 100%, but I think I seen Halfhead from Insane and Stutterbox from East Coast, 2 older dudes, like I said, who had some influence among their homies, you know, having a little sidebar, talking it out, discussing it. But, you know, sometimes stuff like that happen, man. The good thing about the situation is, you know, the 2 dudes who did have a little influence told their younger homeboys kick back, man. And that way it didn't turn into an all-out Crip-on-Crip melee out there on the yard. Now, like I said, you had a lot of individuals on that yard, myself included, who had a lot of love for Pep, because Pep had been on the yard for a long time. So you had dudes down there trying to get Pep eventually moved back to the yard, you know, but I think due to the fact that they felt that they had to mace him extra long, or possibly hit him with the baton because he didn't want to stop and comply with their orders, was a reason that they was not willing to bring Pep back. But anyway, man, I heard that Pep is now out. You know, he's out there doing his thing, man. So shout out to Pep if you happen to hear this, man. I'm glad to see you free. I never heard anything else about what happened to Spook, but shout out to Spook as well. You already know what time it is. It's your boy 16 to life. Resume normal program. Lately, I've been getting a whole lot of questions about my Damian Porter t-shirt. If you want to cop that t-shirt, definitely be sure to go to the t-shirts and more store.printify.me. The reason that I copped this t-shirt is because it got great graphics and the picture is nice and clear. Now, in order to get yourself one of these t-shirts, be sure to go to your preferred banking institution and withdraw the appropriate amount of funds to ensure that your transaction will be facilitated without any delays, impediments, or hinders. Now also, of course, while you're there, you might want to cop you something else. They have a host of great t-shirts. They have a lot of vintage t-shirts from old sitcoms, old movies, and your favorite artists. It's just so much there, man. Definitely be sure to go to the t-shirts and more store.printify.me and be sure to use the promo code CHILL for your 15% off. You will not regret it. They have a bunch of t-shirts with several different designs among other things, and I guarantee you will find something that you like. Once again, that's the t-shirts and more store.printify.me.